So Kevin, where did you get started with your basketball?
Yeah, so I had a pretty unique journey with basketball, I guess I'd say, compared to most of the other guys that we see on our team and across our league. Played at a very young age. I was actually a guard for most of my upbringing just because, I was never really quick enough to get by somebody, so I had to learn how to shoot. So I was a shooter growing up and played a bit of shooting guard for most of my upbringing. But once I never actually played high school basketball. I ended up getting cut from the high school team 4 years ago, and I'm from 4 years in a row, I should say. And I'm from a pretty small town, about an hour outside of Springfield in Western Mass. So no high school experience, but I knew that beyond that, I wanted to play, and I knew that I could. So when I went to the University of New Haven for college, I reached out to the coach who was there at the time. Went through a tryout process as most other walk-ons did, and I was able to walk onto the team. And ended up playing 4 years of college basketball at Division II, University of New Haven. So that was an incredible experience for me, incredibly grateful to have the opportunity to do that. Even after my 4 years were done, I knew that I wanted to stay with it. I knew that I wasn't done. So I stayed playing a lot of, recreational ball locally in a number of leagues. And then the Zombies opportunity kind of fell in my lap. It wasn't something I was expecting, but I'm beyond happy that it did and incredibly grateful to be here today.
Okay, so I have to ask you. So you talked about the progression. Give me a progression as to how your height went from being in a guard to how the hell you got to be 6'11".
Yeah. So that's, you're right. So I obviously was a guard size through most of my upbringing. I would say around high school age, towards the end of my high school years, I was about 6'1", at about 18. So, to me and compared to the kids we had in my high school, that was tall, but by no means as tall as I am now, compared to most of the people my age. It was my first 2 years in college. In that span, I grew a total of 8 inches. So by 20 years old, I jumped to about 6'9" or so. And then rounded out at about 6'10" and a half, which is where I'm at today. So, very, very atypical
Hold on.
journey.
That's freaking crazy.
That's like Anthony Davis. I never knew that about you.
Outrageous.
No, well,
that
this
really
what I'm
is.
saying. Yeah, well, because I understand what you're saying. But I was 6'1" after my junior year in high school, and then I grew 3.5 inches over the summer. I was 6'4.5".
Right.
Then I grew another inch during the season, and I was 6'5.5". But I was young. I mean, I finished my senior year in high school at 17. I wasn't 17. I was still 16 before the season was over. But then I grew another 2 inches in college. But usually, when you get to be 18, 19, your growing is done.
Exactly.
I mean, to go off and to grow that much there, I mean, I'd like to talk to some doctors and find out how rare that.
Yeah, I wish I knew how rare it was. Obviously, nothing that I expected to happen. I don't think anybody knew that was going to happen. And I'm not from a particularly tall family. I have tall family members, but
that was my next
definitely
question.
not to the extent that I am here. I'm towering over everybody, uncles, my dad, my grandparents. So I was far and away taller than everybody come age 20. It's a funny story to look back at and laugh at nowadays. I had no idea that I'd be here where I am today.
Did you go through an awkward period where, because growing that much, I mean, that can also cause some problems for knees and things of that nature. Did you have any issues like that?
Yeah. It was those 2 years in particular in college. I was real susceptible to injury, had a lot of issues with ankles. A lot of stuff related to my legs, but thankfully I wouldn't say grew out of it, but overcame it. Had a couple scares with concussions during my college days too, just probably from the acclimation of having to walk through doorways, among other things, that I never really had to deal with. But thankfully got acclimated to it, and here we are.
Hey, people don't understand. He just said something, folks, that if you're not tall, you can't relate to.
I know, that was insane to hear.
No, I'm serious. When you're tall, doing stuff and you grow quickly, like I know that with my shoes on, I was right at about 6'8". Door jams are supposed to be 6'8". Okay, that's a normal height in construction. And so if they build them properly and I walk through, I'm a little bit shorter taking a step. So I would never have to worry about a door jam. But then occasionally some idiot who built the building or whatever built the damn door jam a little bit lower, and I would wind up whacking my head. I can't even imagine what it must have been like for you to get and be over that, because man, if you don't duck, you can definitely.
It's a forehead.
Exactly. And, you know, so people ask all the time, how'd you get these concussions and everything? Must be playing sports. Yeah, I was playing sports, but more than anything, it was me adjusting to, you know, suddenly being so tall, something I'd never experienced before. So, yeah, no, a bit of a funny story.
Yeah. Well, my worst thing ever happened, I was on a cruise in college. We went on a cruise during spring break to the Bahamas from Miami. And so I'm walking, waving goodbye to somebody on a ship, and I turned to walk a little thing, and a freaking loudspeaker hit me right in the middle of the freaking head. I couldn't believe that it was that low out in the freaking deck, and it literally knocked me onto my back. I was lucky I didn't get a concussion and cut myself. So
yeah,
it's crazy. People don't understand what tall people go through, and the same thing. Like nobody gives consideration to tall people when they build things. Look at the airlines in the room they give you on a freaking airline plane, you know, in the coach section. There's not a lot of room there. And think of this. Think of it. Back when I first came in the league in the pros, we traveled coach. So Nate Thurman, 6'11", doing it, trying to sit in a coach seat. Fortunately, when we did the long country, cross country late night flights they used to have back in those days, they had a little place on United, which we used to fly a lot on. And they had a little, like a section that was almost like, you know, a couple of seats here and a little table. And so he would always be in the back to get there because he had no room with leg room unless he got lucky and there wasn't a big bulkhead situation. So people don't understand what tall people go through. And then, hey, let's not even talk about trying to get freaking clothes that fit you down.
No kidding. No kidding.
The best thing that happened right now when you get older and everything, and I had a bad bicycle accident, I shrunk. Like I'm only 6'5" now. It's crazy. But the beauty of it is I can buy pants much easier now because they're plenty long for me.
Right.
So anyway, so how did the transition go from being a guard to all of a sudden becoming a center and having to learn to play with your back to the basket? Or do you play with your back to the basket?
Yeah, no, I certainly do play a lot with my back to the basket. I consider myself, especially now, a bit well-rounded, that I could do a little bit of everything. So I can go into the post and operate. I could step out and shoot, facilitate the offense in other ways. But yeah, it was a major shift. You know, when I was young, I had never played with my back to the basket. And like I said, it was for good reason. And it was really my college coach who, you know, he saw me at about 6'8" or so by the time I had made my college team. So he kind of instilled a lot of that in me. I would say I had a taste for it, but he was the one who really honed in a lot of that skill work. And that's kind of what I feel like I have today, obviously expanded upon it in the years since college. But he was the one to really kind of put that on the radar for me. I'd never really thought about playing so much with my back to the basket.
Well, I got an interesting thing. I always did this with my players when I coach. So I'm going to ask you to do it. So give me your strengths and weaknesses in the game of basketball, offensively and defensively.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'd say a strength for me, I would say, is shooting the jump shot or being able to step out and shoot the jump shot. And that obviously comes from my childhood. I kind of carried that through. I think another strength of mine, and I'm really excited to be able to put this on display a bit more, is the ability to pass or create for others from the post or really just within the rhythm of the offense. You know, I don't consider myself the type to where the ball gets thrown down to me and it's a black hole. I like to think that I could spray out and create for others, especially when the defense kind of collapses to me. Defensively in particular too, you know, my length and my height really affords me the opportunity to recover on defense and block some shots. And I'm really looking forward to taking that to the next level too. I'm really excited to be hopefully what will be a defensive presence on our team this year. And as far as improvements, you know, obviously since I've gotten away from it and I'm a bigger player now, I want to continue to hone my ball handling skills. I think that's something that I'm going to be working on a lot more this year. You know, I don't expect to necessarily bring the ball up as much, but obviously just being able to facilitate, you know, our offense and move the ball around, get guys involved, and obviously avoid things like turnovers. We definitely don't want to turn the ball over.
Yeah, coach, it sounds to me like you got somebody that could be a nice asset to your ball club because, I mean, there's nothing better than to have a big man who can get out to the top of the key and shoot the basketball, which requires the other defender to have to guard him. And then if you have smart players, boy, will my son Canyon like to play with you. He is so damn good moving without the basketball. And so if you can set your people up and you back cut on people and you got a big man that can pass the ball, that's such an advantage in this game. Don't you think, Coach?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just to kind of piggyback off what Kevin said, you know, he really is that guy where, you know, when I ever heard that story about his growth spurt, I was like, there's no way you grew 9 inches from the time you were 18 to, you know, 20 years old.
Crazy.
Right.
You know, and then when he ever told me that he got cut from his high school coach, I said, well, he's an idiot. And then he goes, well, you know, I wasn't as big as I am now, you know? So, but no, Kevin really does have that ability to, you know, step outside, but also facilitate. That's a big thing with Kevin. You know, he is a guy that we can get into action, you know, from the top of the key, you know, and use him kind of as that release guy if we have to get, you know, to swing the ball on offense, to, you know, move the ball, to show a different look, and his ability to shoot it is huge for us. You know, like as you said, you know, if you have guards that can really get to the rim or create, now, you know, it kind of keeps that weak side defender a little more honest, you know, so a big man can't sit underneath the basket and try to block shots, or, you know, be there to bail out his teammates. So having Kevin is huge. You know, and just the fact that he's a smart basketball player. Kevin's one of those guys that probably has.
That's what I picked up on.
He probably has, you know, he's got to be one of our guys that has the highest basketball IQ. And I think a big thing with that is the fact that he was a guard. You know, he played that guard position, and now, you know, he kind of plays with that guard mentality still, as far as knowing what to do offensively. So he's definitely a huge asset for us, and he's going to really, I mean, he played a big role for us last year, but he's definitely going to be taking a bigger step this year too. So
I'll tell you what I need to do. I need to get hold of Bill Wallach and just tell him that he needs to get and bring and fly Clifford Ray up when you start practice and stuff, and let Clifford come up and work with Kevin and any of your other big men. Clifford is the best big man's coach that the NBA has had.
Right.
His track record is just unbelievable, off the charts. Every place he's been, he's taken big guys to other levels, made guys into multi-millionaires. He did it for Eric Dampier.
Right.
He did it for Donald Foyle. He did it, and the guy got started, Boogie Cousins. I mean, I can just go down. Let me see, Chris Webber. He had, before he went off on drugs, Roy Tarpley down in Dallas. I mean, it's just crazy. And I'll rest my case with this. He went to coach for Butch Beard when Butch went to New Jersey, and he was the big man's coach there with Butch. He had Sean Bradley getting triple doubles by the end of the season.
Wow.
Points, rebounds, and block shots. Sean Bradley getting triple doubles. Now, then Butch
Player
gets
development.
fired. No, Butch brings fired. They bring in Calipari. I called Calipari, said, whatever you do, John, make sure you keep Clifford Ray. Didn't listen to me.
Wow.
Sean Bradley got waived and was out of the league after getting triple doubles at the end of the season with Clifford Ray as his coach. Unbelievable.
Cliff knows his
You would
stuff.
learn so much. You would learn so much from him. It's unbelievable. I mean, just absolutely incredible. There's another guy out in California that I met that he's got some interesting stuff. And so I'm actually trying to help him to do it. I know if I was a coach, I'd bring it in. He's a foreign guy, and I'm trying to bring up his name. I'm going to look for it while we're talking and stuff. But I met with him, and he was really great at showing how to be able to use your lower body, your legs and stuff to get positioned down. I mean, really cool stuff that I had never heard before. I can't believe that NBA teams aren't utilizing this guy.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there who have, drills and have learned some things. Why? I mean, I'm always open to hear and listen to people, because you don't ever know everything. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that you don't know. And, guys like this and guys like Clifford, the fact that Clifford is not some kind of a consultant or being brought in on a regular basis to teams is beyond my comprehension. But anyway, maybe we can make that happen, Kevin.
yeah,
Wonderful. That'd be amazing.
Rick, you've seen so many big guys over the years. Like you said, Nate Thurmond earlier in this episode, that, you played with him. What about Elvin Hayes? Like, I feel like not a lot of people talk about him, but you've played against him. And when he retired, he was the third highest scorer in NBA history. And he's kind of washed and out of NBA history, I feel like, when people talk about top players.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a heck of a scorer, but the biggest thing I would say, and I know Elvin well, of course, we the biggest upset in the history, we knocked his team off 4-0 in the finals in '75 when they were supposed to sweep us. In fact, I'm working my butt off right now to try to do something with Netflix and some people to finally get a documentary done about our team, which is a travesty that nothing was done about a team that pulled off the greatest upset in the history of finals in one of the major American sports, which is better than any other sport. I haven't find anything at all that compares to it, but that's a whole other story. But Elvin, the biggest thing about Elvin that I would say is that Elvin wasn't a player that made his teammates better. I mean, and that's not to knock him and put him down. He was an unbelievable offensive player, could score and do everything. but we doubled and triple teamed them and all. I mean, you do that, you got to be getting easy shots for your teammates. And you have to be able, when you're a really good player and you're demanding the attention of the defense to have to play against you. And even then you have to have a game that creates opportunities for your teammates. And I would say if there was one, talk about strengths and weaknesses, one weakness is to Elvin's game. I mean, it was obvious that he didn't make his teammates better. He didn't create a lot of stuff for his teammates. And I think, that was one of the things that I think was a negative for him. But, as a person, I like him, but as a player, he didn't help his teammates enough.
Yeah, as a big, when that weak side double comes, you got to kick opposite. And like you said, he wasn't looking to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
And
this is supposed to be your hosting show, but I've been kind of dominating this.
I know. I was about to ask you. So Kevin was a walk-on at UNH, and you chose to go to Miami. But what other options were there, and why did you choose Miami to be your destination?
First of all, I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I tell everybody New Jersey is a great place to be from, unless you're down in the shore area in the summertime. Then it's pretty nice. And my biggest thing is I had a coach in high school that I was going to quit basketball. He was a screamer, a hollerer, and I just didn't want to deal with that. First of all, there is no way that any coach on any level, wherever I've played, could ever be more upset with me than I would be with myself if I did something wrong, because I knew every time I did something wrong, because I knew the game. Mm-hmm. And so I don't need somebody screaming and hollering at me. I mean, just talk to me, okay? I mean, just treat me like a normal human being. Don't scream and holler at me. And, after one game, he didn't like the way we played in the varsity game, so he made us stay to play the JV game, the first quarter of the JV game. I fallen and got a hip pointer in the varsity game, and it was kind of sore. Played the first quarter of the JV game and got knocked down again and landed on the other side. So I had 2 hip pointers. I lived 3 blocks from high school. It took me an hour to walk home. Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't have a cell phone, so I couldn't call and get a ride. And so I was really, but I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you don't punish your players like that and do things like that. And then we played at Roselle, was the biggest school. They had a hell of a basketball team, Roselle High School. I was in Roselle Park across the tracks. One of the best teams in the state. Their second team coach would probably be one of the top teams in the state. That's how good they were. And so they're playing against us. They were a bigger school. We were a Division II. I think they were a Division III or IV at least. And so we, twice during the season we would play them. We play them one time and they kicked our butt, I mean, without question. And so then the next game, the coach decides to do something and he puts in plays and he's trying to get me the ball a little bit more and we play him. So instead of losing by 20 something, I think we lost by maybe 8 or something like that, which is kind of like pretty darn good. Yeah. And he came in the locker room after and just berated and screamed and hollered at me. And I'm sick and tired of setting this team up and doing everything for him. I went home. I said, hey, I'm not playing anymore. This guy's nuts. And so my brother and my father had to talk me into not quitting, and they said, listen, you got a chance to get a scholarship and, you're a good player and doing stuff. You got to stick it out. You can't be a quitter and do it. And so I went back and suffered through it. But it's a tough thing when you have a coach that's doing that. I mean, I'm not and here's the other thing, when you think about it, when I coached, I said, man, I was never going to be a screamer or holler. I would talk to my players and try to communicate with them and be reasonable. Is that here's the deal. You're coaching, you're going along, things are good. What happens when something really bad happens? If you scream and holler all the time, how the hell do you make a point? But if you all of a sudden raise your voice because things got so crazy, like the players say, oh my God, what did we do? Your coach is raising his voice. I mean, obviously you're going to get their attention because they just got to a point where they pushed you almost over the edge. And so I always felt that, screaming and hollering is not the way to treat people. But that was so back old school stuff back when I was growing up. I mean, it was crazy the way coaches would scream and holler at their players. And there's some guys out there today that still kind of do it and have gotten themselves in trouble. Bobby Knight, who did it for so many years. And then, Frank from South Carolina is not exactly the most calm guy in the world when he's coaching. And so I just really think that you got to treat people all fairly. Here's the thing. Everybody should be treated fairly, but not equally necessarily. There's a big difference between the two. Okay. Because everybody isn't equal. Everybody's skill isn't the same.
Right.
And so, it was kind of like the thing where I had a coach who understood and realized that. I mean, for me to have to go and do the things he asked some of the players to do in practices and stuff and all was crazy. Just like for me, I had some coaches, I'm 40 games into the season. I'm playing 40 something minutes a game. And we start practice by running 3-line drills for 20 minutes. Well, I don't want to run 3-line drills I don't need to run. I'm freaking in shape. What do I mean, that's a waste of my time. It's a waste of the team's time. You want to have the guys who haven't done much, let them run after practice is over. Let's spend the time going over our defensive rotations, going over our execution on offense. Let's do something freaking productive. I was always said that, Rick Barry, oh yeah, he was a bad practice player. I said, no, I wasn't a bad practice player. I had some bad practice coaches.
Right.
True. No, you're right.
Yeah, you don't want to get worn down. It's a long season.
Oh, no. That's why I hated the shoot-arounds. Oh, my God. You do shoot-arounds? Hate those things. I'm sorry. I hate them. I hate them with a passion. The thing about it is that it was all done, and it was done by Bill Sharman started that stuff when he became a coach, the great Boston Celtic player. He's my coach in my second year when we went to the finals. He was, heck of a coach doing stuff. But, man, no days off, practice with the shoot-arounds. And it was all for one reason and one reason only. It was to get you out of bed, right? Yep. So that you didn't spend the whole day laying in bed and leave your game in bed. And we would go in jeans and sneaks, just go and just shoot a little bit and stuff, and then walk through a few things. Then it turned into a full-scale workout. I mean, guys are breaking a sweat. I mean, why in the world do I want to go out and use any significant amount of energy at 10 o'clock in the morning when I got to go out at 7 o'clock at night and really expend a lot of energy? I want as much energy as I can have. And so, I said, Coach, why can't we just get up and have a room at the hotel and we can walk through the stuff that we're doing? Well, you want to get used to the baskets and stuff. And so one day in LA, we get on the bus, and the first time we go to Loyola Marymount. We were staying up by the marina area. And being the smart ass I was, I said, Coach, are we playing here tonight? He says, no, of course not. I said, well, then why do I want to get used to these baskets?
Right. That makes sense.
Get used to the baskets. I said, why do I want to I'm not playing here. Why do I care about these baskets? And, he goes, well, but that was his thing. And then now they have it worked out. So the greatest of all, I'm going to finish with this. This is a fairly long story. So he gets let go and he goes to the Lakers, and Wilt Chamberlain is there. So Wilt goes up to me and says, listen, Bill, here's the deal. I'm going to show up one time at the arena today. Do you want me at 10 in the morning or 7 at night? Which I thought was classic. If I hadn't been so young, I was only in my second year in the league. I think if I had been in the league for 10 years or more like Wilt had been and everything, I think I might have done the same thing. I said, look, you want me, I'll show up at 7. You can ask me at 10. I'm not going to do anything. Okay. This is like crazy.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't understand. I really don't understand it. I mean, I think it's great if you want to have the guys who aren't playing very much to give them a chance to get worked out and do some stuff or whatever. But the guys that are playing a lot, hey, let's, have your meeting, talk about stuff, go over the game so you understand what we're trying to accomplish, what our defensive philosophy is going to be in this game, and, how we're going to play certain players, which you always do before the games. You got it all up on the board and everything. But that morning shoot around, I'm sorry, you may have a coach, you're entitled to do it. But if I was playing for you, I wouldn't be happy.
We don't do morning shoot around. I'm just happy when the guys show up when they're at 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game.
There you go.
And there were the other, there's people on the opposite side of that, like Kobe, who were apparently, 4:30 in the gym.
Yeah.
Larry Bird would get out there early and shoot around for a long time. Hey, everybody has their own thing, and you got to do what's best for you. But for me, no, I was a skinny guy doing stuff, and I knew I'm going to play a lot of minutes, and it was a very physical game back then. And I really didn't want to go out and use the energy. In fact, I missed the chance to be in the movie. What was the one that Will Ferrell did? Something about the ABA or something.
The semi-pro one?
Semi-pro.
Whatever the hell it was. Yeah. And so they asked me about doing something to go out, but it was to go out and do some stuff before the game. I said, no, I don't go out before the game.
Right.
So Rick, let me ask you this. What was kind of if you were playing a 7 o'clock game, what was kind of your pregame routine when you got to the arena at night? What was your kind of routine before?
Get there as late as I possibly could. And the deal was, it was great when I had the seniority later in my career, like our championship year and all. I'd been in the league, for 10 years or so. And so the players knew that the taping was by seniority.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're a rookie or second year, whatever, then you got to get your butt in there and get yourself taped and everything, because they knew that I knew we were going to have our meeting maybe at 7:30 if or well, let's say it's a 7:30 game, 7 o'clock. We would probably have our 7 to 7:05, whatever. We would have our little meeting in the room before we go out to warm up. And they knew that if we're going out at 7:05, I'm liable to walk in at 7. Okay. And if I walk in at 7, if you're waiting to get taped or whatever it is, when I walked in, I'm the next guy. If guys getting taped, I'm the next guy. I don't care how many guys are in line to do it. I had the most, I'm the next guy getting taped. So they knew that, and they knew I came in late. So it was very rare ever that I came in that it was only somebody waiting with somebody on the table, because they knew I was going to do it. Then they were going to be late, and they were the one that's going to get fined. Here's the reason why. Later in my career, I learned early, because in my second year, we went to the finals and doing stuff, and I would get there ready to go. Man, you burn up so much freaking energy thinking about things, especially when the playoffs are there. People don't understand that if you allow yourself to emotionally get involved about things like that, you're sucking up energy. And I learned that the hard way. And so I learned that I'm not going to think about it. In fact, one of the things I did, even when I coached in the minor leagues, in the afternoon, I go to a movie. I have lunch and I go to a movie. Why? To get my mind totally and completely off that was basketball was going. I didn't want to be thinking about the freaking game all afternoon and be worried about this and that. I knew what I wanted to do. I talked to the players. I had, with the shoot around stuff. A lot of times I just have meetings with the guys, and that's what I did. I mean, but the thing is, it's like you had to do it because everybody was doing it. If you don't do it, it's like, well, what kind of coach are you? You don't have your morning.
Exactly.
I mean, it's crazy. Everybody follows everybody. But I'll give you what my routine was. And it just shows you how crazy it was. So I would get done with the morning shoot around, which is a pain in the butt to have to drive to go to a morning shoot around and then drive back. I would have a nap. I probably would eat about 4 hours before.
Yep.
And of course we ate the wrong things. We would have, steak and steak and, whatever, and now you're supposed to carbo load and everything. We never ate the right things at all. And then I had later in my career, my boys were ball boys and everything. So they'd get home from school, get their homework done. And so I would eat maybe, 3:30, something like that, and then go take a quick nap. And the boys had to do that too. And then I'd get up and the boys would jump in the car and I'd drive to the arena, and, they get dressed in their ball boy outfits. And so it was, and that's what I did. And then when I got to the thing, I was ready. I get there, I got taped, got dressed, listened to what the coach said, went out, warmed up, and got ready to play. Here's the thing about college basketball. I go nuts now. I'm watching my son when he was back in College Canyon and being at all those games and seeing it. What the hell? I would go crazy if I was on a basketball team that did this. You come out on the floor, they come out, they run out, boom, boom, warming up, doing stuff. They go back in the locker room.
Right.
For 25, 30 minutes.
They come out again and they're warming up and doing stuff, and they go back in the freaking locker room again. I mean, I want to get warmed up one time. It's bad enough that you come out, warm up, even the pro game, and then you have to sit around for all the damn introductions and the national anthem and everything, and then they're ready to go do jump ball. I mean, at least the European people do one thing right. After they do that, and Europe, my son's played overseas, some of them and all, is that after they do the introduction stuff, they give them 2 more minutes to go out and loosen up again, which makes the most sense, because otherwise you can be pulling muscles and doing whatever. I mean, I don't understand why the NBA didn't adopt that. I mean, I guess it's because of the television, probably.
Yeah. Well, the media runs everything. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, when you're giving somebody $1 billion, I guess you should have the right.
Yeah, they gotta have a little.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, Kevin.
Yes.
I got some rapid fire questions for you.
All right, let's do it.
So, what's your favorite pregame meal?
Pregame meal. So probably about 3 hours before game time, I'm probably eating some kind of pasta. So I typically go with something like chicken and broccoli. Got to have some kind of pasta to Rick's point about carbo loading, but no, just something light to keep me, give me some energy and be ready to play. Okay.
So what's your favorite snack then?
Favorite snack. So if I'm relaxing at home, kind of just, passing the day by, I'm a big dairy guy. So I have like string cheese and sliced cheese that I eat throughout the day.
All right. Favorite place to be besides the basketball court?
In bed with a good looking woman. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Probably up there, Rick. But no. What I would have to say is, if I'm not at the court, my favorite place to be. My family back in Western Mass has a nice little cottage on a local lake. So to me, that's the best place to be. Very relaxing, very calming, and a good place to have some fun.
Nice. Something about you that a person couldn't tell by just looking at you.
Yeah. That's a good one, man. Just by looking at me, people might not know, my kind of comedic and humorous nature. I love to have fun. I love to enjoy like the mood around me. I want to make everybody around me comfortable, have everybody having a good time.
That's true. I haven't seen a whole lot of 7-foot comedians.
Right.
Very true.
We're going to let them practice that on Friday night at practice. We're going to see how good his jokes are, Rick, and then we'll let them know.
That'll be good.
And what's the best advice you've ever received as a basketball player?
Yeah, so actually this is one I try and apply to like most aspects of my life, especially nowadays. This one really hit me when I was in college. I had never heard it before. It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's one that's always kind of resonated with me. And it's kind of fuels how I prepare and how I work towards getting better on a daily basis.
Like that. That's nice. Well,
I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, and certainly wish you all the best. I love your attitude. Attitude is so important for anything in life. To know that you're going to go out there, and I'm assuming you're a guy that was probably also taught by your folks growing up to always give your best effort in everything that you do, and leave it all out there on the line. And it's nice as a coach to have a player who you can count on, that is going to show up when he puts his uniform on. You're not going to have to worry about the effort he's going to give, and that he's going to give you everything he has. Now, he may not do it all the way you like him to do it, but he's sure as hell going to try, and that's what you want.
Right.
Yeah. That's for sure.
So
all
guys, the best.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that.
Thank you for tuning in to Zombie Talk with Kevin, Coach Brian, and Coach Rick. Tune in next time. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Hey, we don't talk again. Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, whatever you're celebrating, to everybody, and a Happy New Year as well. And for those of you here, I look forward to seeing you when I'm out there. I think I'm going to be out there in March.
Definitely. Happy holidays to you and your family too. And hopefully you get to enjoy it a little bit, Rick, and you don't have luncheons and Zoom meetings all day.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to call Bill up. Where the hell's my zombie shirt? I don't have a zombie.
Hey, I'll tell him. I'll tell him tomorrow night. I'll tell him.
I'm gonna get on Bill's back right now and let him
Rick,
know.
what size do you need?
Right?
XL.
You got it. You're gonna get it in a couple colors.
Yeah. I can go out and use the long sleeve one when it's chilly, and then use it when I'm playing pickleball. That'll just break everybody up. That'll really distract my opponent.
That's right.
There we go.
Well, all righty. I'll see you guys. Catch up next time.
Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.